Looks like we have.
Almost. I just wanted to get the recording going and see if anybody was on.
Okay. That's Pete. Oh, that was somebody else, that was Pete. No, you were to the right.
On the
for-
screen.
there For a second. Oh, someone on the camera ended up on you.
I usually minimize that so I don't have to look at myself either.
Okay. It is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the Jackson County Board of Adjustment meeting for Monday, April 27th, 2026. Second order of business is roll call. Becca.
Pete Fish,
Here.
Daryl DeVore,
Here.
A. John Arns,
Here.
David Kendall,
Here.
Mike Nickerson.
Here. Everybody's present. Okay, next approval of the draft minutes from March 23rd, 2026. Everybody should have a copy. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. She moves. All right. Order of business is the public hearing number BOA 26-02 continued from last month. And it is a dimensional variance from submitted by, is it Ammon? Is that correct? Ammon Wengerd. For us to allow a bedroom bath addition and front porch addition to an existing residence at 2299 180th Street, Macokota, Perry Township. The request is to reduce the front setback from public right of way. 40-foot required, approximately 27 feet per secondary road verification. So with that, Ammon, if you have any comments about what you're asking for here, we did talk about it last month, but you weren't present, so we had to make some speculation on what was going on, but
Okay.
if you have any other comments about what you're doing or that sort of thing, we'd certainly like to hear.
Sure. Well, first off, I want to acknowledge that it was my mistake to start building without a permit. I did it innocently and not maliciously. I wasn't trying to evade any legal requirements. Moved in from the state of Wyoming, and I wasn't used to having permits in the county out there. We had to have septic permit, and that was it. And then before I started, I did ask one of the guys I go to church with, you know, what are the requirements? Do I need a permit to build? And no, you don't need a permit. And later, talking with him, I asked him where he got that, because you do need a permit in Jackson County. He said, well, the previous administration, he asked them about some things he was planning to do in the future, and I'm not blaming him. I'm just trying to bring light to the subject. That no, you don't need a permit to build. So I started building, and then I received a letter in the mail that said that Jackson County has become aware that there's ongoing construction and that there's a potential violation. So I came in the next day and talked with Becca about it and tried to see what we can do to fix it from this point. So again, my apologies for any inconvenience that this is causing. I acknowledge that it's not being done in the order that it should be, and I want to apologize for that.
Okay. And once you talked to Becca, then that's what started the application for the variance.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Very good. From what we saw in the notes last month and what we still have here, that it looks to be about halfway through the construction. We've got insulation on the outside, which is
No, well, I've got house wrap on the outside and on the roof, just to try to keep the rain out.
okay. And from the location of it, you chose that location because why?
Well, to
In
us,
terms of the addition, yeah.
yeah, to us, it made the most sense because on the end of the house, it slopes down fairly steep and it would have taken quite a bit of grading and foundation work to even do anything on that end sizable enough for what we needed. Then on the back of the house, there's a walkout basement, gas, septic comes out there. The HVAC is there. And then on the other end of the house is a garage, so it's not really not living space.
So yeah, you go up to that top picture then. So what we're looking at is the back of the house directly opposite where the addition is going. And then that's concrete wall, probably 6 foot high or something like that.
Yeah, it's not 6 feet, I would say 4.5,
Okay.
maybe.
But either way, to make that addition at that grade would require filling that big hole
Right,
with something.
yeah, and then on the outside, you'd be having to do a lot more backfill, which we don't have anything available there to do that either.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as it turned out, I was able to drive by your site actually this morning, just take a look at it. Because the pictures don't always tell you everything, and yeah, I can see what you're talking about on the back side of the house, it's just downhill. Big gap between there, so, all right. Any other questions, comments by the board? Anything else to add? Comment, Amen or comment, I'm sorry,
And
Amen, okay.
Yeah, I have an issue. And this is gonna make me the bad guy here. Because what I have to say is not something that you're gonna wanna hear, but I'm just one voice on the board. The first thing though that I wanna say is that I wanna assure you that starting the building without a proper permit, although some people somewhere might say that's a bad thing, you shouldn't have done that. In my mind, that is not something that we should or can consider. It has nothing to do with our decision here. If anyone were to fault you for that, and there were to be any type of an enforcement proceeding, it has nothing to do with us, nothing to do with this board. And I think it would be wrong for this board to consider that as a mark against you. I certainly don't think, on the flip side, that it is something that you can say, hey, look, we've already started construction, cut us a break. I mean, I don't think it's a plus factor, and it will not be, at least in my mind, a minus factor. And if that concerned you at all, hopefully, I think the rest of the board would feel likewise. I think we should look at this as if you did it the right way and came in here from scratch without having stuck 2 sticks together and said, or stuck a shovel on the ground and said, here's our plans, here's what I'd like to do. My concern is in what a relatively new statute was just passed last year that gives the powers to this board. And the last sentence of the section that I think is applicable to this says to receive the requested area, dimensional, or other numerical variance. And I think that's what this fits within. You're asking for a dimensional or numerical variance. The property owner must prove that the practical difficulties faced are unique to the property and not self-created. And then it goes on and says, if it's not gonna significantly alter the aesthetic character of the surrounding neighborhood. I don't think you have any problem with that. I mean, I think it's a residential area, and what you are asking to do fits within having this be a residence. The issue that I see is that I don't know that this is a practical difficulty unique to the property. And my bigger problem is that I don't know that you can prove, and this is supposed to be your burden of proof, that it's not self-created. And I don't mean to say you as an individual, this talks about the property owner, and it doesn't distinguish between a prior property owner or the current property owner. It's who, the owner of the property. And I think when you talk about issues as to why it would be difficult to build backwards, the gas, the HVAC, the electrical, those are, in my mind, self-created by the owner of the property at the time that the original owner of the property built the house and put that there. It's not because you can't go backwards because there's a river, a creek, a swamp, a cliff, or something like that. I think this is one of the relatively first times that this board is considering this type of request under the new law. It was only passed in 2025. But that's your burden of proof. And to me, and I had a chance to go out and take a look at that. I rode past the property as well. I didn't go on your property. I did take a couple of photographs. And there is a walkout in back. There is a slope. I just had a hard time looking at that and coming to the conclusion that it's, well, first of all, I think most of the issues that you named are self-created by the property owner at the time. And I don't know that it's a unique issue to this property. That's just one person's perspective.
Okay,
I'm done.
very good. Any other questions for Eamon at this point from the board? Okay. Hearing none from the board, the next step is to ask for public comments from anyone in the audience about this particular application. Do we have anyone in the audience with any public comments about this? Okay, good.
John Hoff, I have property that there's a driveway in Casey Cross for the property across the street from the house. And from what I know of the individual we're dealing with, I'm pleased to have him as a neighbor. I'm convinced that there's a presentation that he talked about that he was unaware that that was an issue. I've seen his work. I know what he can do. I also know that if he had any inclination at the time, he probably would have modified it somewhat. I don't know. But I'm here to support them and I have no reservation about the fact that it's closer to the setback than needs to be, but understand how it happened.
Okay, thank you, John.
Sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
I live also across from him and his wife.
If you
Yeah.
could just identify yourself.
Sorry, I'm Peter Hoff.
Peter.
I'm John's son.
Okay.
And I just want to mirror what my dad said about their character and everything, and I don't feel that the being closer to the right of way or the road is much of an issue, in my opinion, but obviously that doesn't.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Steve Kurtz, I'm with Mississippi Valley Metals. I actually work with them, selling product. And I guess I'm just here in support of him, moving on with this project. In light of, ideally it would be different, but I think with where it's located and with the traffic and the road, I guess I don't see any big issue with that. And I think all can be, I think it can be solved without moving the building itself. I did have one request, and I don't know if this is possible or not. I wanted to do it. I deal with a lot of contractors. And I hear this quite frequently that, people don't know what they're supposed to do or what they're allowed to or what they're not allowed to do. Is there any way that I could get like a one-page document or a bulletin of the laws that are required, that I can just put up in my office or hand my contract.
Yeah.
That would be the first right over there.
We recently adopted the new zoning ordinance, and although it is 140 pages. 139 pages. I might not be able to do a one page for you, but if there's any specific issues on setbacks or the districts with the setbacks, I will gladly do like a synopsis of everything.
Okay, I'll give you a call tomorrow, and maybe we can get something together.
Definitely, that would
Thank
be
you.
great.
Yeah, that's
Education
certainly
is a
good
big
point.
thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For example, if you just wanna buy a pre-made shed and put it in your backyard, does that require permits? Things like that that people.
Correct. And
Sure.
there's
Do
been
the right thing.
changes from the old ordinance, and then there's also been a lot of things that are just described a little more clearly. So, yeah, happy to.
Okay. Thanks.
And we do have differences between agricultural property and rural residential property. So that differentiation has to be made at some point too. And oftentimes the realtors don't do a very good job on that. So
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Any other comments from the?
So, I'm Mark English, and I'm down that one, and well, good friend of his, and he's not somebody that is gonna cut corners, I mean, we got him, he's finishing and I feel bad for the situation where he's at now, especially with money for the addiction and everything. And I've driven the road quite a bit too, I guess I don't see any, like this, you can see those waves coming those waves really good. But I also understand with law you guys passed, that is also wish, we we'll know more, I guess we need to dig into more and find out about the law, but we have to. Just, yeah. Thank you guys.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Any others? Okay. All right, hearing no other public comments. Any rebuttals from anyone in the audience for what's been said? That's all like it. Okay, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
You got a motion, you got a second?
second,
Okay, got a second? All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, next is the board deliberation. So just so we're clear, Becca, and I know I talked to you a little bit about the way the rules read now.
Mhm.
This is a request for a variance based on dimensional, is that correct?
Mhm. Yes.
And the other two contingencies are, you would explain those real quickly and now they.
A regular variance, which does not deal with measurements,
Hmm.
or the conditional use permit, such as we've seen for Dennis Hankmeyer to allow a campground on a farm, so.
Okay. All right. So this one clearly falls into the dimensional variance.
Correct, yes, anything with a measurement.
Okay. So the dimensional variance is the fact that the setback is 40 feet. They're requesting a 27-foot setback,
We're
26.
gonna go with the 26, and the county engineer did say they used their measuring and got it to 27, but we believe they were measuring to the side of the building and not the overhang, and we need to measure from the overhang. And Amon did so he did with a tape measure and came up with 26.
All right, so that dimensional variance request still falls under the 50%
Correct,
rule that we kind of use as a guideline.
correct.
Okay, very good. All right. Yes,
Yeah, raise an issue, and I had a conversation with Becca today as well, because I had a question, and I called her, with a question that I had. And the question was, why isn't this being handled as an administrative waiver? And Becca and I talked about that, and I didn't have the rules, the ordinance that Jackson County the new Jackson County zoning ordinance in front of me. And I've had a chance to look at it again, and I guess I'm still wondering why this isn't being handled as an administrative rate waiver rather than requiring board
Yeah.
action.
For an allowed principal or accessory structure, the requested setback is the same as or greater than the setback of the existing principal structure.
Okay, but this isn't, they're not asking for a new principal structure. And it's, I don't think it's an accessory structure. It's just an addition to the existing.
And
structure.
allowed addition.
Okay, now you're in paragraph 5. Okay, the request waiver for reconstruction of an allowed addition or an accessory structure is no larger than the footprint of the previously existing addition or accessory. I don't think that's this case either.
The one above it. It is. So
You're thinking it's number 4?
for construction, for an allowed principal or accessory structure, the requested setback is the same as or greater than the setback of the existing principal structure. For an
Yeah.
allowed principal, but
See, I don't think this is either a principal or an accessory structure. This is just an addition to an existing
which,
principal structure.
right. I then read it as the principal addition, because why would you put a principal structure in front of an existing principal structure?
I'm confused. So what's the criteria for saying that you can make a decision on this versus bringing it?
Right,
Yeah,
if
that's
he
what I'm
was-
really trying to figure out.
so in this case, if the garage was already up that far and he was putting the addition on at the same distance, then that would be an administrative waiver.
Okay. But since it's a new addition that's,
And
you know,
yes,
creeping into the right of way.
past what the principal structure already is, then
All right, so had the principal structure already had a garage that was 26-foot setback,
then I could do the.
then he's
administrative
just
waiver.
adding on to that garage space.
Mhm. Then it
And
would
you
be,
could have said, fine,
yes,
okay.
well, and I could not have said fine, so.
Well, you would have made the decision.
No, for the administrative waiver, he would have had to go to all of his neighbors and get, a letter signed by all of them. So there are still other qualifications. I just can't, I don't just sign off on it. It's just a different route of approval.
But it still doesn't require it to come in front of the board.
Correct,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
I understand what you're saying, and I'm not gonna say that that isn't a reasonable position, but I guess you're on paragraph 4, right?
And okay, how about my little synopsis of it? Yes,
And so that reads the requested waiver for an allowed principal or accessory structure is the same or greater than the setback of the existing principal structure. So we know there's an existing principal structure.
so why would there be another principal structure? So that's why I'm reading it as a principal addition. But we may need to clarify that and add the words in there. Generally, people don't put a principal structure in front of a principal structure.
Yeah, okay.
Does the fact that the shop may encroach on the setback have anything to do with this? Or is that not considered any structure at all?
It is, and he's within the setbacks with the
Okay.
shop. Which then, that's with the, all of the setbacks are already there, but they are met.
Hmm.
So that, is then a practical difficulty, the way I have read the practical difficulty, that it's tied to the property as it exists today and not something that the applicant created. So in this case, the existing house location is a fixed condition of the property, not something that it was self-created. And he's not placing a new house in a non-compliant location. And he's working with the existing structure and the site layout, which then that is the practical difficulty, which is tied to the property, which he has then addressed.
Yeah, see, my question about the waiver was that, my hope was that there could be a workaround that would allow an administrative waiver rather than an action by this board. I still think if it's an action by this board, then what we do as we are starting to apply a new law is that people, I think rightfully, will be looking at actions that we take as some sort of precedent for the future. And when you just gave your explanation, you used the expression applicant, and the code doesn't use the word applicant. It says property owner. And I think that that's an important distinction. I think this is not self-created by this applicant, but I think it is self-created by the property owner. And again, there's no distinction between current property owner and prior property owner. I mean, otherwise, anybody can come in, build whatever structure they want, as long as it complies, and then then somebody else comes in and says, well, you know, we're stuck, this is a practical problem, and it's not created by me. I mean, it undercuts application of the zoning ordinances, I think, significantly, if we interpret it that way. That's why I raised it now. I mean, I don't have a problem with Ammon, and I think all of the other reasons that we would look to in trying to decide whether we would provide a variance or not operate in his favor or their favor. And certainly the support they garner from the neighborhood speaks very well to them. I'm more concerned about what we do as a board and how that is viewed prospectively by people that come in and say, why don't you treat me the same way you did?
It also states in there that we cannot consider what the neighbors did or what the neighbors have. Each case is individual to that case. And regardless of what had been prior allowed, even if it's next door or across the road, has no bearing on it whatsoever. It's an individual case to be taken a steps at a time, one case at a time. I can't tell you exactly where I read that because
You did, it's in there,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's in the material.
Yeah.
Sent out.
so I understand what you're saying about setting the precedent, and we run into this oftentimes in the Leader Lake area. But we cannot consider what the neighbor did, what the neighbor got to do. And I know we worry a lot about decisions that previous boards have made, or even some decisions that we have made. Coming back to haunt us. Well, it has to be an individual case. Now that individual case may come back.
But the individual case at that time, and you can't predict the future of what it might happen.
You can't, and you can't necessarily talk about he's gonna remodel the house and then sell it, and then the next person's gonna come in and say, well, I wanna add some more onto it, and well, we'll take that when it happens, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
It's individual case by case.
Okay, more comments from the board? Any more thoughts?
I guess back in 2 sentences, what's the overall purpose of something?
Yeah.
And Jackson.
We're not gonna approve anything anymore.
Well, I think
It's pointless.
this, yes, the dimensional variance has helped with the practical difficulties, but like I talked to John today too, there's, gray area in zoning as well as gray area in government, and how it gets interpreted one way could be interpreted in another way. Really with the dimensional variance, this is pretty much the same that has been heard from with the BOA, the Board of Adjustment, throughout the years. So it's,
It's not.
Seem to have run into a lot of these dimensional variances.
right, they were called variances before,
A lot.
and now they're called dimensional variances, and there, it's always been a measurement from a setback.
And we handle them as a special exception.
And it's not a special exception, we don't have a special exception in our zoning ordinance anymore.
And so you just changed the words and you made it variance and you're gonna make it so we can't approve anything.
Well, this special exception is now a conditional use permit, so that, those words are now interchangeable. So the variance, it used to be just special exception variance, and now it's conditional use permit, variance, and dimensional variance.
So if the variance was, he was asking for 1 foot. Well, we're not gonna approve it.
And because of,
I don't know what, you'd have to show, a reason. Practical difficulty. Practical difficulty for 6 inches.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of semantics within this that a lot of interpretation, no doubt, so.
mhm. And it's no different than all the ones that have come before, that with the different interpretation.
But this is a new law. This is new language. Yeah. It's not in the prior language, the statute.
The measurement was,
Now, this last sentence, if you look at the prior version of 335-15, it does not say that. This is new language in 2025. Totally different.
well, the last sentence on point 4, 335.15.4.
Yep.
That will not significantly alter the essential character. of this
No. Everything before that. To receive the requested area, dimensional, or other numerical variance, the property owner must prove that the practical difficulties faced are unique to the property and not self-created. And then it goes on and must also demonstrate, and I think that language was there, but the 2 things before that aren't, that weren't.
Well, and it's
I'm just
unique,
working through it myself.
yeah,
mean,
I know,
this is
we all are.
in case the first impression.
They're unique to the property
And
in
so
that,
You understand, we didn't pass this, somebody made the comment, the law that you passed, we didn't have anything to do with creating this law. We're stuck trying to apply it.
this is an Iowa legislator one, the dimensional variance, yeah. So the practical difficulties faced are unique to the property. Which they are unique to the property, he has a slope.
Okay.
And they're not self-created. So self-created, he didn't
Create the slope.
create the slope,
It's fault.
he didn't put the house where it is. He didn't put the garage on one side, he didn't put the HVAC in the rear.
But you're interpreting it, and I don't want to belabor this forever, but I want the rest of the board to understand the positions that I'm going to be taking, because unless I'm convinced otherwise, I'll probably be taking them in the future. You're interpreting this as it applies to the applicant, and I think that undercuts all of the zoning. If you apply it to them, you can, then this one person can go ahead and build a house, could buy a 2-acre parcel of property, have electrical line, and then with a 40-foot setback, have an electrical line installed 50 feet back from the setback, and then come in and say, Well, and then deed property to his LLC and say, that wasn't, I'm the LLC now, I'm the applicant. I didn't have anything to do with it. That was me personally, but that was a prior owner. And now I have to build my whole house within the setback because it's unique to the property. And I wasn't the one that did it. I don't think you can read it that way. I think the statute says the property owner. And the issues that are the problem behind the house were created by the then property owner. And they weren't unique to the property.
And I'm viewing it as the applicant, because that's what gets put to the Board of Adjustment is the applicant.
Fair enough, we just agreed and disagreed, right?
Okay. I think it's time to roll back to this particular request, because there's a lot of things here, Donna, that we can just gonna solve.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do this,
Yeah,
So we're faced with, he has requested a 14-foot deviation to the setback.
mhm.
After viewing the property, I can see the difficulties of trying to put this addition anywhere else. So I'm inclined to say, yeah, that as a board, he's kind of after the fact, but that's a whole different issue. That we can approve something like this because it falls within, it's under 50% of a variance, so it's up to the board to make the decision. At least that's my thoughts on
I agree.
it. Okay. So with that, if we want to move forward, do we have a motion to go one way or the other? Well, if no one else, I make a motion that we approve the requested setback for request 26. Whatever the number was,
26-02.
26-02 to allow the 14-foot setback for the applicant's request.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
You put a time limit on that to get it completed.
1 year
1 year, is
generally is what we do.
that reasonable, Gavin, 1 year?
Yeah, very
Okay. Very good, 1 year time limit. I have a motion to approve and a second. No further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay, I do want to say on a personal note, if there was ever a request that I thought should be granted, I think it's yours. I just have a problem with this new law. And I don't want to belabor the point now, but I think as a board, we're gonna need to look into this some more because I just have a problem applying this law. Yeah.
I think we all certainly hear your point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah,
A little bit ambiguous, a little bit confusing how we apply it, but at this point, what's clear is that it meets our requirement to make a decision. So the motion has been passed. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Last time, I think that was it for tonight's agenda.
yes. The other business would be 7 o'clock, May 26th. Tuesday following Memorial Day for the
Okay.
meeting.
All right. Very good. And you're more than welcome to attend that too if you'd like, but oh, I'm just kidding. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
The whole meeting's adjourned.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I do something?
Well, yeah, I would like to add, it doesn't involve this at all.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, therefore, it's gonna be-
Thank you, guys.
Yep. So this would be under other business, sorry, other business.
Yeah, under other business. First of all,
Yeah, I certainly understand your doubt about it's confusing.
Well, for this lawyer, you have to read that words, they changed the words that we use. And now the intent of our board has followed through like we think, like I think.
I would agree 100% with what you just said. I would agree with 100% with what you just said. But I don't know whether we ask for assistance. Do you have, are you the member of some sort of a statewide organization or zoning ordinances?
Yes,
Iowa State Association.
yeah, and you went to the last, training that there was that Iowa State put on. And Iowa State has them, on a fairly regular basis, Board of Adjustment training.
Well, either I'm just dense and I don't mean that facetiously. I mean, I might be missing something here. And either I'm missing something or I mean, this is a very, very difficult test to almost ever meet.
Well, you're exactly right, because property owner, which it clearly states, as you read earlier, and I read earlier as well. For how long? I mean, the place, not in this case, but maybe it's a farm that was built 130 years ago. And now there's,
It's a great point.
how far do we go back? I mean, and that's, we need a definition or. Because you also get to the point where, okay, I built this house and I created these problems and then, you know. Forwarded it to my LLC or whatever, gave it to my son-in-law, something.
Husband needs it, the wife.
Some transfer of ownership, which it doesn't even state anything about a transfer of ownership, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But now you're gonna come in front of us and ask for a variance or a. Dimensional.
Not very
I think we need some clarification of the law, but we also probably need some changes in the law.
Yes,
I don't think it's gonna
be,
I don't think it's gonna allow us to operate, and I don't think it's gonna allow the county to function. I have a feeling the people that wrote it didn't think about it too much.
Mhm.
You know, they just,
I think they want to shut it down.
pardon me?
I think they want to shut local participation down.
Yeah, well, yeah, they want a state
I heard
mandate, you know.
Cedar County's getting rid of their zoning department.
are they?
What? So I don't know what's gonna replace that.
And some counties at this,
Cedar County,
even there are some counties that don't even have zoning.
They don't, and they don't have, and they have no zoning regulations or ordinances in that.
Mm-mm.
It's just like the Wild West.
Build where you want, whatever you want.
I don't know
See, what
about
I'm-
that part.
See, I'm not in favor of that.
No, I'm
But
not
they,
either,
right, as present, they have your position and an assistant, and they are going to eliminate that. Now, whether like the CIA is gonna come in and run it, or
Yeah.
they in a different area, I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, what I'm really confused about is honestly, I agree with everybody. What's our role going forward if the way it's worded is most of it can land right here, allowed to make a decision that for the most part on a lot of what we've been voting on.
Right.
That's-
but
So
again,
it's our
I
point.
don't make that decision. They get the signatures gathered and then I make the decision. So it's
Right.
still,
Yeah, assuming they put all the right forms in place.
right, and if
Dot
it
the i's,
doesn't,
cross the t's,
right,
now it becomes your decision.
right.
And it really has to be pretty unique before it would fall in front of us, it sounds like.
If that, doesn't take the path to get to me though, if there are neighbors that won't sign it, then
Sure.
it does come to you.
So you got 4 neighbors. You got 1 neighbor that don't like
Mhm,
it. Is that Kelly?
mhm.
So there you go.
It's gotta be unanimous.
It does, yeah.
Okay,
So by not signing is saying no, because I read in there that the neighbor doesn't have to sign.
True.
One way or another, but
Yeah.
by saying, by no action is no.
Exactly, yes.
okay.
So
So,
they have to get, they positively have to get the consent.
mhm,
Okay, so it's,
100%.
so it's not just you send out a notice and if nobody objects, then it passes. They have to sign it, okay.
yeah. So it's not a sign off on my part. It is a route, another route to take.
Wow, okay.
So it really comes down to if they do all the right paperwork and places in front of you, you can then make the decision based on the new
Mhm.
rules.
Right.
To circumvent us.
Mhm.
And then are you finding that, yes, because we don't see everything you handle, we only see 1 or 2 occasionally.
I haven't
So-
seen an administrative waiver yet.
Okay,
It's just, there's just not much going on.
yeah, okay,
Are we adjourned for some session?
Session.
well, we're in session. Yeah, we're on other business. Yeah, okay,
I guess as a board member and a citizen, in this case. If I were in their position, I would make the county engineer prove that he had the right of way. And that might make their setback decision irrelevant, because he might have a prescriptive easement instead of a right of way. And for him to assume that he has a 33-foot or 66-foot right of way is a big leap of faith in Jackson County. I mean, that's not our decision, that's
right,
his decision, but.
Especially on a curvy road.
Right.
yeah, okay. So is that feedback you would take to the county engineer and say, hey, we've got this guy who claims he wants 26 foot, is it really a 40-foot right away in his area?
Right.
Is that the
I don't
burden?
know
of
if
the
that would
county
be a
engineer?
zoning or a burden of the applicant.
Well, if it's 40-foot all throughout Jackson County,
66 feet used where
well, then what's the 40-foot that he was referring to?
40 foot is the setback,
Setback,
the 66 foot is the right.
Oh,
Right, right.
Okay, yeah, sorry,
33 feet from the center.
okay. So, but from 33, another 40, that's where the variance is. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't think we can solve a lot of these, no, problems here, but certainly I agree with John saying that sometimes I'm wondering, what are we really deciding on, and why should we be deciding?
But is there anything we can do though? I mean, that's why I asked, is there a state organization you can go to?
Yeah,
Say, hey, we're having troubles
Yeah.
with this.
definitely. The Iowa State that we did the training, they that's what they do.
Or would you do that? Would you contact them and say?
Definitely.
I mean, does this really mean, is this supposed to mean what it says? Because
Yeah.
this is what it seems to say.
For sure I will.
Okay, there was one other thing that I had asked, Beck about, I don't know whether you looked into it or not, but, and I guess I haven't checked the most recent version, but when I first came on this board, when I was reading the rules and regulations for our board, it talked about the chair being able to put people upon their oath. I mean, does anybody ever do that in the state? Like when we have people stand up?
Raise your right hand, I solemnly swear that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that's what it said, and that's why I didn't know the first time I came here, I thought, I don't know, are they gonna swear these people, or they just say, here's what I'm telling you, but I got my fingers crossed. I mean, I don't know.
I did look into that and I haven't found anything concrete yet, nothing
Okay.
really to mention, but I often wonder that with the applicants, but the applicants do sign everything, so, but the people that speak in favor one way or the
But
other.
when they sign an application, it's not under penalty of perjury, or it's not upon their oath. Or is it?
There is a statement on there that says they have to follow everything that they stated. So if at some point in time, if somebody said they were gonna build a 10 by 10 and somebody else goes out there and it's actually a 16 by 16, then they could be have a penalty against them or taken to court, or maybe the Board of Adjustment. Like there are repercussions if they.
But misrepresenting something is different from lying under oath. And that's why sometimes when people come here, and I don't know that it's happened since I've been here, but I can imagine scenarios where people are saying, well, yeah, came kind of close to it with, Tom, the welder. That it was a noise complaint. Some people were saying there's lots of noise, some were saying it's not so much noise, it's at night, it's not at night. Town Fredericks, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
it would be nice to have people understand that if they're gonna come here and try and convince us by saying, these are the facts. Under some circumstances, it would be nice. And even though we don't have a court reporter, there'd be no way to ever enforce it, but it'd be nice as a sort of circumstance you know, the pomp and circumstance of it to say, hey, you know, you're under penalty of perjury.
So what if somebody took an appeal of our action to district court and they tried to admit the unsworn evidence in from the judge might just say,
Yeah,
it's no good.
could,
I don't know, I mean, I certainly, if we have to, we would swear in the people that are, you know, giving testimony, but boy, I certainly.
you don't want to, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
I
want to
get
go
that,
down that road.
I get that,
Feels again like a court of
Yeah.
law then versus, you
yeah,
know, a neighborhood board of adjustment. We're assuming they're giving us the truth unless it's flat out, you know, BS that we can detect, but still,
yeah,
yeah.
fair enough.
So far, yeah, I agree with that one guy. That was kind of just burying his head and saying, no, I don't make any noise. What do you mean you don't make? Of course you. That was pretty obvious from the, you know, from the video evidence that she presented. It's making noise. But
Right,
anyways, I agree with John. If we can help get some clarification from someone on
yeah.
what's this supposed to mean, so.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, the man from the metal company made a good point. That it is hard to figure out what to do sometimes in Jackson County.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling Becca earlier today, when I was a supervisor 20 years ago, we tried to put together with the Farm Bureau a guide to rural living to address a lot of these points.
Oh, really?
And we had it all drafted, it looked beautiful, and it made sense, and we showed it to the realtors, and they said, if you ever do that, you're all gonna get thrown out of office. Cause they didn't want us making the buyer aware of the problems. You know what I'm saying? Exactly like this, you know, you got a 2 acre lot, it's a cliff in the back. You can't go back, you can't go forward, it is what it is. And you're, you know, you're of age and 21, you're buying it with your eyes open. They didn't want us to do that.
Yeah, they're trying to sell them Shangri-La and you're telling them the truth. Like,
Because
yeah,
in our opinion, at that time, it was gonna come back on secondary roads and zoning and sanitation. When these people wanted to do these crazy things that they assumed that they could do, and it wasn't government's fault, but. You know, people are not very well. They don't ask all these questions, they just have this dream of this 2 acre property. And we've got a lot of those 2 acre properties. That end up being 1.7 when you take the road out, and
Yeah,
there, and then we've got Leisure Lake and.
that's a good point, you take the road out, you don't have 2 acres. No,
You don't have.
it starts to get pretty small.
Yeah, and when you're on a curve like this man is, it just seems to
Yeah.
close it even more.
well, you should have stayed in Wyoming, been a lot easier, but
Prove to grow.
just do good, do whatever you want out there, no one cares. Not enough people around to make a difference, but.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Welcome back. All right, anything else?
I know we adjourn.
I second. In adjourn. All right,